Can I just add there that I think this has very great federal implications and for every other state in Australia. And there are people in Labor, and indeed there are in the Conservatives, who are extremely worried and frustrated by lack of action on Australia being one of the most prodigious polluters of the atmosphere on the face of the planet, and the inability of both Labor and the Conservatives in office to address that question, which hangs over the whole future of our communities. And if anyone can say 700,000 properties on the coastline, including here in Queensland, threatened by sea level rises this century. And what are they doing? Opening more coal mines and building more coal-fired power stations. That's not good policy.
Ronan, how widespread is the discontent?
I believe quite widespread. I think there is significant concern about the direction of the government, particularly on environmental matters. I mean, I have a passionate commitment to delivering for the environment. I actually think that climate change is the biggest issue that my generation will face, and we've got to do that. No good sitting back, paddling in the canoe and thinking, we're heading towards a waterfall, maybe we should change the colour of the paddles. We need to do the things that we can do, and tomorrow the Premier can say, let's not build Traveston, let's deliver on solar power, let's deliver on public transport, let's deliver on wilderness protection. I don't know why she doesn't, quite frankly.
Leaving aside...
It's causing significant unrest. It's causing, I think, it's a ferociously symbolic issue for the failings of the government on environmental things. It's always at the top of people's lists. But in broad terms, what we're dealing with is a collection of things that just aren't been delivered well enough or delivered properly.
Leaving aside the environment for a moment, Senator Mr. Lee is one of the most vocal opponents of stem cell research. He's pro-life. How does that reconcile with your stance and that of the Greens?
Well, I voted against stem cell research in its first passage through the National Parliament, and then at the next, and with Kerry Nettle on the other side of the chamber, we're a party that has exercised a conscience vote on these hugely personal, ethical and moral issues, and I'm very relaxed about that. I know with my fellow senators we have different points of view, as do all other parties, and what I see in Ronan's contribution to politics as a very young politician with a long trajectory in front is an intensely ethical character in looking at how the great problems that face the world, and I have great confidence he'll make good decisions both on the standard issues which divide parliaments, ethical issues, as well as on the overarching ethical issue of the age, which is climate change, which is being ignored by the big parties under the impress of the big end of town, and we've got to change that. And we're talking about 150 million people on the move and millions starving within the coming decades, and the death of the Great Barrier Reef. Is it ethical that Queensland is the biggest coal exporting province in Australia, which is the biggest coal exporting country, when we're not exporting equivalent amounts of solar panels, photovoltaics and all the things that our great technology enables us to have? So yeah, I'm very comfortable with that, and the Greens are. And we're a maturing group of people who are being catapulted into greater authority in parliaments right around this country because the big parties can't change direction, and they're not going to.
But you're not being catapulted by the voters in this case into the parliament. I think this is stealing, isn't it?
No, not at all. I think quite the reverse. If we had proportional representation in Queensland, actually we had one person, one vote, one value, there'd be half a dozen Greens in the parliament now. It's not stealing anything at all.
Not coming in through the back door?
Absolutely. This is a front door move by a public that's dispossessed of representation on big issues like climate change. And you ask the polls, go to the people and ask them what they think. Do they want MPs to be making action on climate change? And the vast majority says yes. Will you pay more for renewable energy? The vast majority says yes. Do you want a pulp mill burning forests and putting more stuff into the atmosphere? 80% say no, but both the big parties lock in against the public interest every time. So I wouldn't underestimate the amount of thought that's gone into Ronan's decision. It is a courageous decision, and it's what we need in an age of huge problems facing Queensland and facing the whole world. And we need people of courage and conviction. And in Ronan Lee we have one.
Ronan, do you think Labor is going to lose the election and lose government?
Look, I think any party that goes to the next state election not offering a world-leading platform on tackling climate change and defending the environment deserves to lose. No matter what their label, if you go to the next Queensland election and you are not committed to genuinely delivering on climate change and the environment, well, frankly, I think the people of Queensland will make a decision.
And where will you be sitting this week in Parliament?
Look, that remains to be seen. I would imagine that there'll be some arrangements made tomorrow in terms of seating arrangements.
The independents probably?
I think I'll be on the cross benches, and there'll be. I'll have a meeting with the clerk of the Parliament tomorrow and determine exactly where my seat will be.
Are you worried that this might backfire? It's backfired for a lot of people who jump ship midterm.
Cheryl Kerner.
Look, my objective here is to actually say we can do better on the environment. There's no downside in this. This puts the environment front and centre of state politics in Queensland. There ain't no downside in that.
Headed in that direction anyway, with Labor polls showing that Labor needed green preferences.
Look, polls have been showing that for some time, and Labor's been incredibly reluctant to move one little bit on environmental things. The Labor government's opening coal mines. The Labor government's made a stupid decision on the solar feed-in tariff. The Labor government's dragged its heels on every environmental issue over the last, the last number of years, and the Labor government's sort of sitting there saying, "Oh well, we plan to plough ahead with Traviston Dam." They're showing no indications at all that they plan to be in any way greener. This is an opportunity for them. It's a wake-up call for the big parties. You've got to get greener.
Why more spin than substance on that, then?
Look, I've expressed some views that there's been a lot of really tough talk and not a lot of delivery at all on the environment. I think the message from here on in for the older parties is show us what you got. There's a Labor government in Queensland. Time to deliver. They've got an opportunity to deliver. The Premier says there's an election 12 months away. Well, you've got 12 months to start delivering, and same goes for the other side. You've got to stump up with some decent policies. I mean, the people of Queensland, they're not just demanding it; they deserve it.
How was the vibe when you spoke on the phone to her?
Tense, I think, is a polite way of describing it.
She asked you to stay?
She asked me if there would be any. Her words were, "Will there be any convincing you?" And I said no. She also expressed a view which, quite frankly, flabbergasted me. It was, I don't know where it was coming from, that I had never raised any environmental issues with her, and that's just a load of cobblers. It's just flabbergasting. It was just crazy.
Who recruited who? Sorry.
How many times have you raised it with her?
Numerous and many. I mean, you guys would know how often I have raised environmental issues in the Parliament, in the caucus, with the Premier, privately, with senior staff members, with senior ministers, with my colleagues. I don't think there's been a better advocate for the environment in the Queensland Parliament in a long time.
And who recruited who? Sorry. Who recruited who? Who made the first approach in this courtship?
I made a phone call on the basis of policy concern, and there was a series of conversations that followed thereafter.
When did you make that phone call?
A couple of weeks ago.
Can I just say with Cheryl Kerner, because you couldn't help it. But why jump back when you can jump forward? And Ronan's jumping forward and she jumped back. That's the difference.
Can we just get everyone away and we just get a couple of handshakes here? Sure. Just give me one.